And sir, before we begin the interview, I just want to be as transparent with the audience as possible. These are exclusive reports by the Globe and Mail and by Global News. CBC News cannot independently verify the details, but we have, of course, been following the story closely. And I wanted to ask you how you felt when the Globe and Mail report came out about the 2021 elections, naming you specifically as one of the Conservative MPs that China allegedly wanted out.
Well, I got a mixed feeling at the time when I saw the report, understandably, because it's directly related to myself and also my constituents. I'm happy and have a sense of being vindicated, at the moment. But on the other hand, the country is not doing nearly sufficient to protect itself. In fact, one can argue that there has been no actions being taken, even though CSIS and other security apparatus keeping an eye on our national security has sounded the alarm, not just in these two well-publicized reports for our 2019-2021 elections, but also in numerous other reports that they have published to parliamentarians in the past few years. And therefore, it's difficult for me to feel a sense of justice and good being served.
Mr. Chiu, before we continue, because I do want to return to this idea of the concern for the country as a whole, but from your personal perspective, I guess two things. Why do you think you were targeted, and how specifically do you think you were targeted?
I think, during my tenure as a member of parliament, I've been very clear that I'm on the Canadian value side, speaking up to, for example, how the Uyghur Muslims have been treated in the Xinjiang province in China. But more importantly, as I observe in the Greater Vancouver, Greater Toronto area, a lot of my constituents and also diaspora Chinese community have been manipulated or have been at least exposed to manipulations and control by the current powerful Chinese Communist Party controlled China. And therefore, it is not healthy, it is not good. And that's the reason why I tabled my private member bill for an Interference Registry Act.
When you said people are being manipulated, what does that mean, sir? What does manipulation look like?
For example, the former British Crown colony of Hong Kong had been handed over to China for a guarantee of 50 years of one country, two system, maintaining its own freedom, including freedom of press, freedom of political gathering and all that. Since 2019, those freedom has been suppressed. Hong Kong is where 300,000 Canadians, passport-holding Canadians, are living, and it's critical to Canada as a country as well in terms of our trades and all that. So I spoke up against that, and for that, I've been branded as a traitor. I've been branded as anti-Chinese and haters. Many of the Chinese diaspora rely on news information from this mobile application called WeChat and other mainland Chinese CCP-controlled software, and therefore their informations are tilted and biased. And the lower mainland Chinese media, by and large, are either afraid of bringing up the topic and discuss and debate about it. And therefore, for example, when China imposed the national security law, a very tough national security law in Hong Kong, there are few objections being heard on the airwaves, and those who are opposing it have been branded as anti-China and anti-Chinese.
So let's return the conversation to a larger one here at home in Canada. Do you think the current government's response to these reports is sufficient?
Not nearly as sufficient, Natasha, because like I said, this is not the first time that we have heard the bureaucracy in charge of national security has sounded the alarm. Alarm after alarm after alarm. The government has not done anything. We know that in 2018 and 2019, when Russia has expressed similar interest in interfering with our electoral system, the government reacted. But to date, even with the latest news about 2019, when CSIS had actually reported a potential Chinese influence candidate running for the Liberal Party, and they are notified, they refuse to do anything about it. And to date, of the Chinese diplomatic corps, 146 of them, there has been no repercussion. There has been they have been operating under immunity within Canada, and those are not acceptable. The government of Canada's primary responsibility is to protect Canada and to protect Canadians, and we are not seeing any action that would actually lead to that.
If this alleged campaign against you by the Chinese authorities had not taken place, do you think you would still have your seat?
Well, it's definitely one of the contributing factor, but given a riding that is so big, who is to assess how many votes have been flipped? And that's why I've been consistently telling media that it is one contributing factor. Elections winning or losing definitely has many other factors as well at play. But as I have sounded the alarm, even prior to the election, very few actions have been taken. My party has also taken this concern to the election monitoring committee that they have put together. I think it's called CSIS, and there has been no action taken. And for that, it only encourages predatory regimes such as Russia, Iran, or Communist China to continue to, if not up the ante on this game.
Will you run again?
Well, Natasha, it is not important if I'm running again. The importance is to safeguard our country, our electoral system. If I were to run again, and if Canada is continuing to subject itself, be the weakest link in our free world, what is the point? So it is important that today we hold the government to account and make sure that they do something rather than say something about foreign interference.
Okay. Mr. Kenny Chiu, thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.